I discovered a diary hidden at the bottom of a silver box, revealing a shocking secret. Chapter 32. It's been for days since I've seen Linda, Noah's grandmother. I also haven't talked to us. I've heard HES working non-stop, preparing and strategizing. I guess I'm working non-stop as well. Maybe it's for the best for us to not see each other. We could focus more. Well, that was my theory anyways. Which was true. Oz was always in the back of my mind. Even when he was unwelcome there. I was in my room, reading spell books about flowers, legends about magic flowers, pretty much anything to do with a flower. I was reading it, but my mind was running on empty. I needed a coffee or something. I walked out of my room, but was straight away tense when I saw Oz had only just come out of his. Our eyes connected and he stilled, both of us staring at each other, waiting to see who would look away first. It was me. I turned my head away with no expression to show. He still did not move as I walked down the stairs. I flinched when I heard a door slam shut. The sound echoed throughout the whole castle. Get out of my head, I said to myself. I was walking down another hall when I saw the painting that hid the secret door. I grasped the locket, hidden under my shirt. Maybe there were some answers in there. I looked around quickly to make sure no one was around. I didn't know who knew about this room, but just to be safe, I didn't want to be seen. I shut the painting door behind me and I went down the stairs into the candledy room. It was as I had left it. I wanted to look at more of Lydia's things. That sounds so disrespectful to look through our Edwife's things. But, at this point, we need to find all that we can to help. I opened the closet and took the silver box out again. I opened it and gently was looking at its content. The majority of it were love letters. However, when I thought that all hope was lost, I found something resting at the very bottom of the box. A book. I took it out and it was a beautiful dark red leather book. I opened it up and realized it wasn't a book at all, but a diary. Lillian's diary. I didn't want to read something personal of hers, so I tried to skim through until I saw something that was of any use to me. After a while, I still couldn't find anything. That letter I read came to mind. I rummaged through the box and found the letter Lillian wrote to Oz while he was away with Lad. My pain eases knowing that we are under the same sky, the same stars, and when I go for walks on the beach, I know we are looking at the same waters. Be safe, my love, and come home to me. This was the last letter she wrote. It was on the same day she died. She never sent it, but it seems Oz had found it and stored it away. My mind was still rattled about this. Was it a popular saying back in the day? Under the same sky? I thought I made it up, but it seems it was already a saying. Right. My eyes looked past the letter on the pages of the diary. Everything in my mind was focused sharply on the pages as I put the letter down. What is this? There were markings, circles, connecting dots. According to my research, if Isma's flower were to be sent to Earth, it came in the form of a meteor. There was a drawn map and a circle around an area. Oh my goodness. Lillian was looking for the flower as well. Why would she? I looked at the date and my eyes widened. It was the same date that she died. Though it is dangerous for me to travel in my delicate condition, I need to find the flower for RS's sake. He won't be trapped anymore. She found something. She knew something. There was much information left on the page. All she left was a drawing of a map. I kept reading her research. Find the meteor before it's too late. This was her revenge. The flower is, but the words were cut off. I frowned as I flipped the page and it was a completely different topic. I looked up and down the paper to see if there was anything else. My eyes caught on the binding of the book. There was a frayed edge of a paper, as if someone ripped a page out. Someone stole the map, and then killed her. All that was left was the map. I looked at the area she drew. It was a rough drawing, but I could still read it. To my surprise, it had highway signs on them. Was this in the human world? I studied the map and my mind began to recognize it. It was the lake near my pack, the Blood Moon pack. That was where the meteor landed. The lake was actually a crater, My heart was beating fast. My hands became weak with knowledge that I may or may not have found the flower. Even if it was the flower, it was definitely a step closer to finding it. I need to go back home. I was brushing my hair on my bed as I waited for him to come. This was always my favorite part of my day. I picked a fresh set of flowers today and I arranged them in my hair. Your beauty always takes my breath away. I smiled softly and turned around to meet his red eyes. I have been waiting. Have you now? I turned around in my bed so that I was facing him. He came and sat down next to me. Well, I apologize, my darling. I should not keep a beautiful woman waiting. He leans in and gives me a kiss which I savour preciously. I didn't know when we weren't going to see each other again. Kira leans back on his arms and smiles at me. What has my beautiful love done today? I looked down at my hands and rolled my eyes. What I do every day. Tend to the gardens and that's it. Kira leans in and grasps my hands. Do you yearn for something more fulfilling? I gave him a pointed look and I shook my head. Stop. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeline Nilban. Heartfelt thanks for your unfailing enthusiasm. I know where this is going. You know I can't do it. He grabs a hold of me and lifts me into his lap. But my love, you deserve a whole universe. You deserve to see every beautiful thing that life has to offer you. Why do you trap yourself in this glass prison? I cupped his face and kissed his forehead. You know why? I do not know if I can't survive out there. I'm afraid that if I do, that the moon goddess's powers may stop sustaining me. Kira shook his head. If the moon goddess wanted her powers back, she would have done it by now. My love, there is nothing to be afraid of. I will take care of you. I will protect you, provide for you and love you for eternity. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeline Nilban, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. I know you would. I wrap my arms around his neck and hug him tightly. His arms tighten around my waist. I would kill all the gods for you. My love, I would wreck the cosmos into chaos for you, he said seriously, his red eyes glowing. I stroked his hair trying to calm him. Don't do that. My love, you are better than that. Kira was a dark god. He could not be controlled or tamed, but he's come to soften under my touch. I remember when he told me all of his dark deeds, and how he loves his darkness, how he craves it. He lives in the darkness. He believed this was why he was created. He did not think he had anything beyond it. That was because he had not tasted the light. He did not know that his desire for light would outgrow his desire for darkness. That's why I love him. He knows he loves the darkness, but he also knows it's not what defines him. He knows that if someone like me could accept him and love him, there must be some good in Kiro. He shook his head. No, I'm not. It is because I am a trickster, a monster of no feeling, that I would do the most horrific deeds for you. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeline Nilban, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. I know, but remember, you feel for me, and it is because you feel for me that you would refrain yourself from doing such things. Kiro nods his head. I know that, darling. It's frustrating, though. I had a lot of darkness before I met you. My love, I had no care in the world. I loved causing trouble. I loved violence and death. I craved it. But you, my little star, shined your light within me, and you made me crave something even stronger. And what is that? Already knowing the answer. Your love. I crave your love. My star, I crave you more than any wicked deed. I crave you more than chaos. And I am the god of chaos, which is really saying something. I laughed and nodded my head. I know. I wish we could break out of these glass walls and be together accepting lie. We could, he says with his brow popped. I shook my head. I am a star. Stars are forbidden to have any relationship with gods. What about your best friend? To my agent extraordinaire, Madeline Nilban, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. I rolled my eyes. That's different. I love her as a sister. I do not love her romantically. I am in love with you. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Noble, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. But our love would never be accepted in the heavens. They would shun us. Then let them, he says confidently. I have never cared what they thought of me. I am the god of chaos. I will always cause a disruption. This can be one of them. They would try to separate us. Then I will fight them, he said determinedly. I will fight them all for all of eternity. He kisses my forehead. You will not be taken from me. I would let loose all of my chaos upon them all. I would turn havoc to have you in my arms again. I smiled and shook my head. Kiro Stormhold, you have stolen my heart. Kiro leans and undrests his forehead against my own. All those years ago, when I found you here, I was here with the intention of capturing your power, your heart, but it seems you are the one that captured mine. You little thief, he says with a quiet chuckle. I guess we are both thieves then. Your chaotic ways are rubbing on me. They most certainly are, and thank the gods for that. I snapped awake. I inhaled a great big hunk of air as I took in my surroundings. I was still in the secret room. I just have fallen asleep. I should go. I stretched and stood up from the chair. That dream I had, it was so realistic. In reading way too many things on Kiro and Esme. In dreaming about them now. I grabbed the diary and was about to put it back in the books. But then I remembered the map. I hid it under my jacket and left. I made no one was around as I went out. I walked out to the hallway. The dream was replaying in my mind. Was their relationship really like that? How could she have loved him so wholeheartedly without having any reservations? I read some of the stuff that Kiro had apparently did. They were pretty bad. I think he cut the head off a queen. I'm pretty sure because he wanted her crown. He ruined plans for the earth. He did so much bad. There were rumors that he was Hades' son, but that was bullcrap. Still, he was so bad that people began to associate him with Hades himself. And yet she still loved him. I went to my room and sat on my bed and laid down. Everything was so messy. Esme was a star. She was pure light, literally, and he was the darkness. It was so different to my mother and father's love, or my aunts or uncles. Because yes, they all did something bad and it was hard for my aunts and mother to accept them. But ours was an actual monster. At least my uncles were apologetic. But ours wasn't, because he believed it's who he is. And he couldn't change who he was. But then Esme showed Kiro he was just a monster. She showed him that he was worth it. She accepted all of him. The good, the bad and the ugly. Ours was my mate. He was destined to be my soulmate. Maybe I could learn from Esme. Chapter 33. I wandered out of my room and went downstairs into the library to get a map. I needed to know for sure that the so-called meteor actually landed there. That's if it's actually true. I entered the room but froze when I saw O's Ian and Donnie sitting there. Donnie was sitting on a chair, not even doing anything, just zoning out. As I had his glasses halfway down his face where he was just staring at the book in his hand. O's Ian had his bottle of Hennessy in his hand. He had sunglasses on, even though he was inside, and he was resting his head on the back of the couch with a blanket laid on himself messily. You guys look good, I said sarcastically. All of them jumped at my voice. O's Ian and Oz I took their glasses off and Donnie's head whipped around my way. I stood there a little uncomfortable with all of their attention on me at once. O's Ian stood up but stumbled. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Noble, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. Please let us explain. We're sick fucks. I know. Believe me, I know. But we all love you PWEs, forgive us. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Noble, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. You don't have to forgive the other two. Just please forgive me. He then fell to the ground and passed out from the alcohol. I rolled my eyes. Goodness. Donnie stood up. Oz and may be totally drunk. But AGS right. None of us like it when you're not around. We miss you. I was supposed to come here for a map. I didn't know they were all going to be here. I guess after almost a week of silence, I should let them have the chance to talk. It's not like we won't talk forever. I came and stood a little closer. You don't have to explain anything. I knew what you guys do. I guess seeing it like that was a little hard. I stood up and took a step forward. We never wanted you to see us like that. We didn't want to taint your view of us even more. It makes us into like drug addicts. But instead of being addicted to drug, you're addicted to killing. The shame was reflecting brightly in Ozie's eyes. Kind of. We have urges to want to inflict chaos and ruin. The curse demands it. It was supposed to be our other way out of this curse. If we cowed and find a mate, we had lost hope of finding anyone, and so we created ruin everywhere we went. We got so lost in it that we didn't realize how bad it actually got. And now look at us. We truly were angry at those vampires for attempting to hurt you, and we wanted information. So we got it out of them the only way we knew how. But things got a little out of hand, especially with ours. Ozie's eyes glistened slightly, but he blinked it away. We hate ourselves. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeline Nolben, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing enthusiasm. We hate what we are. I dread it every time those urges come back. And I know that ours and Sozien does as well. And you are so pure we didn't want you to think badly of us. But we're cursed men, Lil. We have no choice in what we are anymore. I stood there silent. What he said was true. In all honesty, I don't want to see you all like that ever. But I know that it will happen again. I was prepared to see what I saw. To see you guys all covered in blood. It scared me. But I understand. I understand what you guys are going through, and at the end, your curse will be broken and you can live however you want to live. We're sorry. Sweetie Pooh. Ozien grumbles. I let out a little laugh. I know. All of them sat in silence, waiting for words to come out. I sighed and stepped forward. I forgive you guys. All of them sagged in relief. Thank the Lord, Johnny said under his breath. I culled and handled the silent treatment. Ozien got up. It was TW, ye. Donnie had anxiety this whole past week. Ozien said, laughing. You should have seen him, Lil. He reminded me of Edward when he thought Bella died. Shut up, Ozien, Donnie shouted as his cheeks became flushed. Oh, whoa. I miss them. I laughed and shook my head. I came and gave me a hug. Donnie came and did the same. Ozien came and gave me a hug too. Except he gave me a big sloppy kiss on the cheek and then he whispers, hip-hop, dip-it-dydop, flying around the pot. I have a big cock. And then he falls to the floor and passes out again. Oh, Ozien. He's so entertaining to listen to sometimes. Donnie rolls his eyes and steps over Ozien. Friggin' alcoholic. He looks up at me seriously and scratches the back of his neck. I know that you might not want to, but you should try to talk to us. Achia's in pretty bad shape. All Achia's doing is planning and then sleep and then drinking. I silently nodded my head. I know. I don't know what to say. I mean, she is my mate. I'm not sure how I'm supposed to be with him like that. Donnie sat down in front of me. I understand where you're coming from. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeline Nolben, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing enthusiasm. But you've seen us at our most draw point. We're not perfect and we will never be perfect even after we break the curse. And to be honest, you're not perfect either. My eyes snapped up to Donnie. AI steps in. Donnie. But Donnie shakes his head. No, I'm not saying this out of spite. I'm saying this because we all love you. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeline Nolben, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing enthusiasm. You're not perfect. You're just like us. I frowned and tilted my head. What way you mean? You might not have the same issues we have, but you have issues nonetheless. You judged us before you knew us. You never gave us a real chance to prove you wrong because you were so stubborn. You had too much pride to even think that someone that had a different opinion than you could be right. I gulped and looked down at my hands, twiddling with them as Donnie continued on. You would purposely disobeyed us, which led to one of us either saving you or fixing the mistakes you made. You called us monsters. You called ours a monster. He's done monster-like things. But when it comes down to the reason behind, it's because Archie is afraid. Archie is afraid of losing you, Iris, and so he tries to prevent that in the only he knows how. In his hellhound-ish ways. I felt my heart beat as I soak in the words that Donnie said were true. I didn't want them to be true because it made me sound like such a bad person. I felt my chest burn with guilt. Donnie sighs and takes my hand in his. We are all not perfect, Lil. I gulped and nodded my head. I guess, when I used to be blind, I was so helpless. I couldn't do anything by myself properly. Everyone would be walking on eggshells around me, helping me with everything, and in their eyes, I never did anything wrong and I got used to it. I never really got to have enough freedom to make mistakes and learn and grow. And I think that caused me to be entitled and arrogant. I felt tears well up in my eyes. I'm sorry for being so, for making you guys not feel good enough. As AI sits on my other side and pulled me into a hug. We're not trying to make you feel bad. To my agent extraordinaire, Lillian, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing enthusiasm. We're just trying to make you see reality, but not out of a place of bitterness. We love you, and we just don't need to screw up your own life. I sniffed and wiped my eyes. I guess the truth can be hard to swallow sometimes. I lean back and smile. But thank you for telling me. I needed it. No one's ever talked to me so bluntly and honestly before. I kinda liked it though. I feel a little bit more free from, I guess, myself. Donnie smiles and gives me a cheeky win. A freedom comes with accepting that you're not perfect. I suppose Ian yells with his hands above his head in victory. Had anyone seen Braveheart? Do you remember the ending when he screams that? This moment reminds me of that. It was late. I had finished reading my book. I looked at the mess I made on my bed. Papers were everywhere. It seems that the location on the map was the lake. You'll have to go check it out sometime soon. I looked at the time. It was 1 a.m. I sighed tiredly. The thought of sleep made me smile excitedly. Do you ever have those moments where you're completely exhausted mentally, physically and emotionally, and you just crave sleep? Yup, well, that is where I am at right now. I got up from my bed and took a shower. I let the hot water relax my body, readying myself for a deep sleep. I put on a giant t-shirt and some shorts. I was drying my hair with the towel when I looked at myself in the mirror. I realized I was wearing a SS shirt. I lifted the material to my nose and inhaled deeply. I felt my body desire to be near him. I was craving that sense of security and safety when I would sleep next to him. To be honest, I haven't been sleeping well by myself. I think I've gotten so used to sleeping next to us that now it felt weird to be alone. I didn't feel safe. I didn't feel that sense of. I don't even know what it is. But whatever it is, I missed it. I went to my bed and laid down. I pulled the blanket up higher and closed my eyes. I stayed in that position in what felt like hours. It was weird though. I was completely exhausted. But I couldn't sleep. My body didn't feel safe enough still. I sat up in my bed, my legs beginning to fidget. I knew what I had to do, but I didn't want to do it. But I did it anyways because it was the right thing to do. I needed to right my wrong. I winced when I heard the creak of his door as I tried to open it gently. I quickly walked in and shut the door behind me. I inhaled deeply and I felt my body sag. I looked up and froze in my steps as I saw Oz was sitting up from his bed, staring at me. My heart clenched when I saw his state. His hair was messy. His stubble grew thicker. The bags under his eyes were very obvious. He was shirtless. I noticed a bottle of Jack Daniels on the side of the bed. What were you doing here? To my agent extraordinaire, Lillian, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing enthusiasm. His voice was deep and raspy as if he had only just woken up from a deep sleep. I couldn't sleep. I replied nervously. He was silent for a moment before he responded. Me neither. Oz stood up from the bed. His giant height only seemed more taller with the tension growing in this room. The unresolved feeling was all that was running through my emotions. I gulped, waiting for him to do something. "I never lied to you," Oz said bluntly, interrupting my sleeping arrangement trance. "What?" His green eyes glowed in the dark as he gave me a serious look. "I was never fake with you. What you see is what you get when it comes to me. I showed you who I am. I am a monster, and I didn't try to hide that from you. I am not the good guy in the stories. I'm the guy that people want to see die in the movies. I'm sick and twisted bastard, but you already knew that." He was talking about the last day I talked to him. Oz looks to his left at the balcony. I could see in the moonlight. His eyes were glistening slightly. I initially didn't want that. It's not a very nice picture to have in your mind, but you have, and there's no going back. You heard of what I've done, and you have finally seen it. Oz looks back at me and his jaw was tensed and his nostrils were flaring as he was breathing quickly. I loathed myself. "To my agent extraordinaire, Lillian, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. This curse won't end. I will have to deal with everything that I've done myself. Their faces will haunt me. Their souls will linger and torment me." I took careful steps to ours, making sure our eyes were always looking at each other. I stopped right in front of him and Oz observes my every action carefully, analyzing everything. I raise my hand and cups our SS face. "Then don't deal with it alone." He looks down at me and frowns in confusion. I stroked his cheek with my thumb. "I understand, Oz. I understand you and your struggles with this curse, what it's turned you into, and I'm not saying that what you did was right. It was completely wrong. What you do is not good. It was hard for me to see it. I've been blind for years and now I can suddenly see. But I suddenly see these horrible things. I can visibly see Oz tense at my words. I know my chances are slim. I know I'm sick in the head. My head fills up with voices. Our SS face becomes hard and his eyes shined with one of a lost soul. Voices I recognize but don't know who they are. Violence always made them quiet. But it's like getting high. Sooner or later, they would come back and you need another hit. I decided to sit down on the bed and he kneels down on his knees. His eyes pour into mine as I saw them break down the walls to only find a broken man. "When you came along, you made them quiet. You made me feel peace in my head and heart. I can't say that I won't screw up. I'm not going to lie to you. To my agent extraordinaire, Lillian, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. I'm going to mess up sooner or later. I'm going to do things that you might not like. But if you let me in, I could make you happy. Could I ever be enough for you?" And that was what made me melt into a puddle. I smiled slightly when I said, "You're not perfect." I stroke his cheek. "But neither am I." Our SS eyes tense. "I'm not perfect at all. I'm quick to judge. I can be entitled, arrogant and stubborn. I've made you and the others run around this damn castle after me, making sure I'm not making stupid decisions. And even when I do, you're still there to save me and make sure I'm okay even though it was my own fault." My hands run down his bare chest and over his heart. "Your heart is good. To my agent extraordinaire, Lillian, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. You carry people because you love them. You carry us, Ian. I'll say I. Donnie, you carry me. Just because you've done bad things doesn't mean that your heart is bad." Tears well up in my eyes as I felt the weight of house to bid Ivy in. "And I'm sorry, Oz." He looked shocked by my confession. "I'm sorry for making you feel like you're never going to be good enough. But I have seen your bad side. I have seen the darkness within you. But I also see good. You might be the almighty Oz of the Hellhounds. You are an unstoppable force. But we all have our own baggage, Oz, including myself, and I want you to share yours with me." Oz froze at my words. "Share the load. With all your twisted ends, your messed up ways, I accept you for who you are, Oz. If we could never break this curse, I would still be here. You're enough for me. I want you to be mine. just like how I'm already yours. Oz was very still as he listened to me talk. After I had finished, I don't think he knew what to say, so I wrapped my arms around his neck and I hugged him. Oz shuffled and stood in between my legs on his knees. He wraps his arms around my waist and buries his head in the nape of my neck. After a moment, Oz raises his head, but still leaves his arms wrapped securely around me. It won't be easy with me. I understood that. I know, but it also won't be easy with me. If we get through this battle alive, I could go back to being blind for the rest of my life. It will be hard because what if one day we want pups, and I can't even see them? Or if something bad happens and I won't know what to. Oz cups my face. You're my mate, Lil. We were made for each other, and I wanted you even when you were blind. Blind or not, and always here. We'll figure it out together. I felt myself relax and I smiled. Well, that's good. At least we won't be a boring couple. Right. Oz chuckles. No, we won't. I guess we're both pretty flawed, huh? We're definitely not perfect. Oz scoffs. Perfect is overrated. I kinda prefer it this way. Oz leans and presses his lips onto mine, and this time I let it happen freely without thinking or freaking out. This was our time. Our moment. His kisses become hungry. My hands rake through his hair and pull it lightly, making him growl. I wrap my legs around his waist. He stands up with me and throws me on the bed. I yelp in fright and then giggle. His broad figure climbs over me, his eyes glowing with desire. He kisses down my neck, sucking the area where Mark is. Tendrils of pleasure are carried to my core. His pelvis settle themselves between my legs. He nips at my neck, making me moan slightly. His pelvis begins to slightly rock against me, rubbing around our pleasure-filled parts together. I bring his lips back to mine and kiss him hard. He groans as I playfully bite his lower lip. His hands travel up my shirt, feeling the skin of my waist. His hands felt like heaven on my bare skin. They were big and calloused and I loved it. We separate breathlessly. We need to stop. I groan. I know. As much as I feel like I want to, I need a little bit more time. Oz sighs. I'm willing to wait however long, but for right now, I need a cold shower. Chapter 34. As I wake up to the sun rising, my first thought was that I was alone, but I remembered what happened last night. I looked down at Iris to make sure it wasn't some dream. She laid there with her back to me, still fast asleep. I positioned myself closely behind her. I started at the top of her shoulder. I watched carefully as I ran my fingers slowly down the contours of her body. The sun dancing on her skin made her seem like she was glowing, her beautiful blonde hair shining as if it was the very sunlight itself. I leaned down and kissed her on the shoulder. I kissed up on her neck and slowly onto her cheek. I smirked when I felt her begin to wake. Her cheeks stretched as a smile formed on her sleepy face. She turns around and faces me, her beautiful puffy tired eyes open. Well, I wouldn't mind being woken up like that every morning. I chuckle. I would very much like to do that to you every morning. I leaned down and gave her a quick kiss. Good morning, my flower. She wraps her arms around my neck and pulls me closer. Good morning. To my agent extraordinaire, Mythical Nilban. Heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. How did you sleep? She nods her head. Better than I've added a while. I looked at the clock on the wall and inwardly cursed as I saw I would be late for my annual meeting with my warriors. My eyes went back to the glowing form of beauty. I need to leave. I need to have a meeting with my warriors concerning Vlad. Iris spouts. Can't you stay a little longer? I smile and kissed her forehead. I want nothing more than to stay by your side for the rest of the day. But we need to be ready. She sighs. I understand. I guess. I just wanted a moment to ourselves. Forgetting all this crazy stuff. I could see this whole vampire issue was taking its toll on Iris. The light has gone a little dimmer in her eyes. I know. Love. And we will have that. But we are in a raging storm right now. We can't afford to have peace right now. Peace is a luxury we don't have. She sits up and nods her head understandingly. I know. I guess it is just wishful thinking. I grip her shoulders gently. A wish that will come true. Love. She gives me a small smile. You should go, or you'll be late. I give her a peck on the cheeks before standing from the bed to head to the shower iris. I watch us leave to the shower. It felt right being here. In this room. In this bed beside him. I felt like I was where I'm meant to be. I had wondered about telling him of what the moon goddess had told me. I should be honest with him, but it might do more harm than good. Oz would obviously want to help. But maybe this quest is only mine alone, or else the moon goddess would have given him an indication to help me. It seems she hasn't. I'm running out of time. I look to the moon in the morning sky. The moon won't be up there forever. The goddess has given me the gift of sight in order to find the flower. I can't waste my time. I quickly got changed and went downstairs. I went to the kitchen to grab a quick apple when I saw Annie talking to a girl. I froze because I didn't even expect anyone to be up this early. Danny's eyes saw me from behind the girl and they widened. He went a little red and laughed nervously. Oh, hi Lil. I was just talking to Tani. The girl spun around and it was just any girl. It was my little sister Genevieve. My eyes popped out of my head in shock. Jen, oh my gosh. I ran to my little sister and gave her a giant hug. She squealed in excitement. I know. I've come to color your boring lives again. I rolled my eyes. Of course she would say something like that. I leaned against the kitchen counter and crossed my arms. It's really good to see a familiar face. Jen, don't get me wrong, but what were you doing here? Then right in a flash all traces of the bubbly girl I knew disappears. She is replaced with a face of concern and urgency. I have something to tell you and it might not make sense at first, but I hope it will make some sense to you. Jen glances at Danny for a moment, looking a bit uncomfortable to speak while there was a guy in the room. Danny just stood there staring at Jen. I rolled my eyes. For goodness sake. Danny, go wait outside. He snaps out of his trance. Wait, what? Why? Jen rolls her eyes also. Well, you can't. This is girl talk. Now get out. Danny groans, but complies. Jen turns back to me and sighs dramatically. Anyway, as I was saying, my little sits up on the counter. About a month ago, I've been having a weird dream. To my agent extraordinaire, Lillian, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. Yeah, a dream. I've had every night. I stood up a little straighter since that caught my attention. What was it about? It always starts out with a star, shining bright in the sky. The scene changes and there is war battling in the heavens. The star falls out of the sky and lands in the wood, creating this crater. The scene changes again, and it showed natives standing around the crater, almost like they were trying to protect the star. Jen's face was zoning out as if she were living in the very dream itself. What else happened? I asked gently. She takes a deep breath. And you were there? Me, I said in surprise. Yes, you. You walked on the water as if it was hard concrete. The natives, they bowed down to you. And you stood right in the middle of lake. After I had the same dream for 2 weeks, I began to think it was just a random reoccurring dream. I felt like I had to go and tell you. Shit. The moon goddess was using my sister to communicate to me. The sun was rising in the sky. Time was passing by too quickly. I need to go home. Jen stood from her seat. What? I kicked off the counter and stood straight. I need to get to that lake. Today. Jen's eyes widened. Are you serious? So you really think that my dream meant something? Your dream is so accurate it's freaking me out. But also I think it's a clue. We need to go now. I marched out of the kitchen with my sister in tow. I looked at the staircase that would lead to our SS office. He would never let me go alone. It would be too risky. He would want to come with me or at least have a whole army go. I can't let that happen. This is something I have to do on my own without him. I'm sorry. To my agent extraordinaire, Lillian, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. I said quietly, knowing he wouldn't hear, but it made me feel better about it. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Nilben, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. I turned to the door. Let's go, I said to my little sister. She follows behind me as we walked out into the cold. How did you get here? I asked her. She brings out a candle made out of a glittering gold. Caro gave this to me. We have to light and it takes you to where you want go. In this world, all the human one, we have just enough for one trip. I look back to the castle before I would lose sight of it through the trees. As much as I want the help, I can't put them in that position. I don't know if this is the right thing to do or a really stupid thing to do, but I have a feeling it's probably a mixture of both. This task was given to me, and me alone. If I involve them, I could be putting them at risk, and that is something I do not want to do, especially during such a delicate time. I'm all alone, but I have to be brave. I need to be brave, not only for me, but for ours. Ozzy, Ian, and Danny, along with every other living being that lives under the sky. We had come to snowy clearing. We had stopped right in the middle. Jen handed the candle to me with some matches. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Nilben, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. We are going to both have to concentrate really hard, Jen. If we both think of different locations, it could mess this up. My little sister rolled her eyes. I've done this before. I shouldn't be the one saying that, considering it's your first time. Yeah, but I don't have a short attention span. You have to concentrate on our destination. We want to go to the lake near our home. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Nilben, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. So just visualize the lake in your head and I will do the same. Hopefully we won't end up somewhere random. I held the candle while Jen lit a match and set the candle aflame. We both closed our eyes. I pictured the sun glistening on the lake of my home. I can do this. I will succeed. Hopefully. Suddenly I felt this burst of wind flowing around us and this energy slowly building on my senses. I felt my body jump, without me even moving a muscle, and then nothing. Everything was calm. I slowly pried my eyes open and saw we were in thick greenwood, with no lake in sight. My eyes snapped to Jen's in anger and I snapped. Genevieve, what were you thinking in that head of yours? We are certainly not at the lake. She opens her eyes and scans the areas. Shit, she cursed. I grabbed her shoulder. Do you realize what you have done? You might have ruined everything. We don't have time to make mistakes. We are on a time limit. My time is about up. Where did you take us? She groans and pinches the bridge of her nose. It was a mistake. What were you thinking of when we lit the candle, Jen? She looks into my eyes in a panic. I was thinking of. Suddenly a snap of a twig echoed in my ears. I whipped my body around to see where it came from. But there stood around 7 men. 7 big and tall men. I stood frozen. They were tanned and built. Most of them had long black hair. They were all shirtless. They were tribal clothes from the waist down. One in particular held an authoritative presence. He only had half of the long black hair while the other half was completely shaved. What were you thinking of? Genevieve, I whispered shakily. Her eyes were fully trained on the dominant man, standing in the middle of the 7, and his eyes were fully trained on her. The natives, she whispered back. Chapter 35. I stood shakily, but still kept my shoulders back. The native man stepped forward, breaking formation. He took slow but confident steps towards us. I took a step forward, making sure I was in front of Jen. By the expression of his face, he didn't like that I did that. The man stops in front of me. He leans down to sniff the top of my head. His eyes widen and he takes a step back. We have been expecting you, he said in a deep voice. You know why I am here. He nods his head. We have protected these lands for thousands of years without anyone knowing. We are the guardians of the star. It is our duty to ensure its safety. He observes me closely. The moon goddess has sent you to us for a reason. I nodded my head. Well, it seems the moon goddess has spilled the beans to everyone. I mumbled to myself. I directed my gaze on who I am assuming is the leader. I need to get to the lake. He bows his head. We will guide and protect you to your destination. Thank you, I said as I bowed my head back respectfully. I looked over my shoulder at my little sister. She was studying the man very closely. What's your name? She asks bluntly. The man's eyes shifted from mine to my sister's. My name is mythical. I am the Alpha Chief of the Dakota tribe. Jen eyes him suspiciously. My name is Genevieve Crow. mythical nods his head as if he was approving of her name, while his eyes traveled down her body. I coughed into my hand awkwardly. My name is Iris Crow. mythical's eyes snapped to mine. They had darkened as he said in his scary voice, You are our SS mate. I nod my head hesitantly. I guess I should be cautious of who I give my name to. Ours wouldn't be anyone's favorite person. mythical takes a step forward, emitting his dominant presence. My brother's family was murdered under your mate's scare. My eyes widen in astonishment. You are Jacob's brother. He nods his head. I was his brother. Enthusiasm. His mate and my niece were murdered while attending an alpha meeting in your home. I gulped as the memories came flooding back. Seeing their mangled bodies. Little Leah's mangled body will forever be burnt into my mind. I'm so sorry. They had become dear friends of mine. I mourned them. I grieved them. Their deaths were my fault. Genevieve stepped forward and grabbed my arm. Stop it. Lillian was. You were unconscious. You didn't even know. I shook my head. But the vampires came for me. They did that because they knew what Leah was. Jen's eyes furrowed. What she was. What was she? I closed my eyes. She was innocent and her life was stolen from her because of me. mythical's black eyes burned into my own. You are the reason my family is dead. I should be taking Vlad's side as revenge. I shouldn't even help you at all. Jen steps forward and points her tiny finger to mythical's chest. Now look here. Miko. It's mythical. Don't you dare blame my sister. She didn't ask for any of this. She just so happened to be the mate of a hellhound and all of a sudden the whole world is out to get her. She already has enough on her plate, so back the hell up from my sister. mythical's eyes was bouncing between looking at her tiny finger and her face. I sighed and grabbed Jen's shoulder tightly to pull her back. It is my fault. I told mythical. I do not ask of you to forgive me. But it would be a mistake to side with Vlad. He was a werewolf turned vampire. He cannot be trusted. He has broken every law of nature. If he wins this war, you and your people will become his slaves. That is only if he doesn't kill you all. I do not like you. mythical said bluntly. I stepped forward, and I do not care. You know what, I am sick of caring about what people think of me, or what they expect of me because I am a SS mate. I don't care anymore. You don't have to like me to help me, because if I do not finish what the moon goddess has asked of me, all of us will perish. mythical fell silent. His eyes were trained on me while I could see his mind were mulling over things. His rises and falls as he inhaled a deep breath, like he had made a decision. I will help you because it is what my ancestors would have expected of me. There is no need to discuss the past any longer. That is until the time is right. Come follow me. He turns around to leave. But not before his eyes quickly flickered to Jen. He marched away, expecting us to follow, which we did. His hair was very, very long. It was braided tightly. Jen walked silently behind me. I glanced down at her and her eyes were trained on mythical's back. Are they mates? By the way they are both acting. They just might be. We followed them back to their village. It seemed such a pleasant and peaceful place. There were people starting fires, weaving baskets and carrying buckets of water, while the small children were running around playing. It reminded me of the time when my own pack had to go into hiding because of Kendrick. mythical made a strange clicking noise with his tongue. A woman comes out of a tent. She was very beautiful. She looked so exotic with hurt and skin, sharp features and beautiful long jet black hair that reached the end of her back. She bows to mythical and then greets us with a smile. This is my sister, Tisula. She will prepare you. Iris fought night. Tonight. I questioned. What was tonight? When we will go to the lake, when the moon is at its highest. Some of the people came around us, curious to know why these strangers were in their village. I felt uncomfortable when I felt the eyes of the warriors on us. They knew I was mated, but my sister was not. They could not sense a male scent on her. They stepped closer to Jen and sniffed at her slightly. All the men seemed very curious. One man in particular extended his arm as if to reach out to touch her hair. Not her, Mako H said in a commanding and dark voice. She will not be touched by any male here. All of the men's eyes widened when they looked back in froth between Jenna and Mako H. Mako H turns to Jen. You come with me, he demanded. Jen's brows raised in surprise before it pulled together into a defiant frown. She crossed her arms. No, I want to stay with my sister. Mako H rolled his eyes. Your sister is safe. She is not in any danger here. Now come. Jen was hesitant to leave, which is fair enough. He is this random guy who suddenly has taken a liking toward her. Though she seemed cautious, she also looked like she was curious. What do you want with my sister? That is something me and her need to discuss, he said in a low tone. His eyes never shifted from Jen. Jen stumbled slightly and she laid her hand over her chest and frowned. I grabbed her shoulders gently. What's wrong? My wolf is. But her sentence fades off while her mind was thinking hard. Mako H took a step closer. Like I said, Jen and I have some things to discuss. Genevieve looked at me a bit funny and confused as she silently followed Mako H. Wait. They both stopped and looked back. Promise me my sister will be protected. You have to keep her safe. He's held an assurance. Genevieve would always be under my protection. Personally. Jen's face went slightly pink as she followed Mako H. Please moon goddess keep her safe. Genevieve POV. As I followed Mako H, my wolf continued to move strangely. I felt this weird tug in my chest. I wondered if it were Maple. I sure hope not. I don't want to leave home. I don't want to leave my family. I hoped my mate would be in the blood moon. Mako H stopped at a small stream. He bent down and ran his hand over the surface of the water. What did you want to discuss with me? He stands silently and turns around to face. I don't know you. And I don't know you, I said obviously. He stepped forward. Yet you feel it just as much as I do. I felt my heart pound against my chest. I gulped and backed away while crossing my arms over my chest defiantly. I don't know what you are talking about. I looked away from him, keeping my eyes busy on anything except him. We should really head back. I don't want to leave my sister alone for long. I went to leave but only for him to grab onto my arm and push me slightly back to face him. You are mine now and you know it. I yank my arm out of his grasp. I belong to no man. I will not be owned by anyone. Especially you. He growls. You're being immature. I know you are not an object. You are a person, but you will be my person as well as I will be yours. I don't want a mate. He raises his arms out. Everyone's got a mate whether they like it or not. Now you have one. Deal with it. I step back, wanting space from his intoxicating dominance. You are a stranger to me. I don't know you. You are just another alpha. How do you expect me to just run into your arms? You're gorgeous. Tanned. Defined. Big arms. I do not expect that, he said frustrated. I am the best kind of male there is. I am one of the strongest males. Hardly anyone would challenge me. I can provide for you. I can care for you. None of that matters if we don't mean anything to each other. Mako H growls. You're being difficult and dramatic. I am not being dramatic. I am reacting how any other girl would react. Maybe if we met in another couple years we could have worked out. But I am not ready for something serious like this. Mako H turned around and ran his hand over the shaved half of his head. I could see he was trying to collect himself. His shoulders rose and fell at a faster pace. He did not talk for a while, he did not do anything for a while actually. I was thinking of just running. But he would catch me. If he was a friggin' alpha I probably had a chance. But what's worse is that HES one of the ancient natives. They're a deadly people group. Finally Mako H turns around. His face void of emotions, but still seemed a little bit softer when talking to me. You are right. You might not be ready for something like this. But then again, no one ever is. I opened my mouth to snap back. However, he said before I could put a word in, you cannot deny what we are to each other. You have become my weakness. You are mine as well as I am yours. Out of respect for each other, I want you to stay here with me until the war is over. My face scrunched in distaste. Why would I have to do that? He takes a step forward. The idea of mates doesn't settle well with you because you do not know me, as well as having no general desire for a mate. Give me a chance to convince you otherwise. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Nilben, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. I questioned. He nods his head. Yes, a chance. I also want you to stay with me for security reason too. I want to protect you. I want to keep you safe during this time of warfare. Vlad is strong. He is also smart, which is why he won't try to attack me or my tribe. His main focus is ours. I'm not sure about this. I'm scared. He stepped closer, making my mind go fuzzy from the tingles. Stay with me and we will take it day by day. I shook my head and stumbled backwards slightly. I can't do this. This is all too much. Too much change that I am not ready for. Mako H's face showed a quick sign of sadness before he quickly masked it with his expressionless exterior. Chapter 36 Sula. Mako H's sister had specially prepared me for tonight. She had told me her ancestors were the ones that found the star first when it landed. They nurtured the star and protected it. This duty was passed down from generation to generation, from fathers to their sons, mothers to their daughters. And now something is finally happening. Sula braided my hair. She dipped her thumb into a small bowl of white paint. She raises it and gently drags her thumb down my forehead. She smiles and bows her head. You are ready. You have washed and bathed yourself. Now you have been properly prepared for what is to come. She left the tent, leaving me on my own. I didn't know what was going to happen when we get to the lake. All I know is, it could be the resting place of the flower. Hopefully Mako H knows exactly where it is. I took deep breaths and laid down. My mind drifted off to ours. I wonder what he was doing right now. I wonder if he has already noticed him gone. I rolled my eyes to myself. What a stupid question. He probably knew straight away that I left. He is Oz of the Hellhound. Of course he would notice when his mate is absent. I sighed. I will have to deal with him later. If tonight works out well, I'll tell Oz everything. I just really want to go back home to him. Home. I never really used to see it as home. But now, I do. Because Oz is there. Oz is my home. My heart yearned to be near him. I felt a loss without him with me. I gulped and took another deep breath. I can't think like this right now. I can't get all emotional. I have to focus on the task at hand. Once the hard part is over, then I can let myself think of him. Sula pops her head in. Mako H request your presence. You must come now. I crawled out of the tent and stood. Night had fallen upon us. The stars were twinkling and the moon was shining its silver light. Mako H stood there. My sister was standing slightly to the side, leaning on a tree with her arms crossed over. The moon will reach its highest point very soon. He turns around and began to walk. Come, we must make our way there now. Some of the elders and I'm assuming other important people of the tribe were following also. Mako H turns to my little sister. He walks towards her slowly. He leans his head down and whispers something. Soon after, he was holding my sister's hand, ensuring that she is following closely to him, so they must be mates. I was actually quite happy with it. Mako H was strong. He was also powerful, which means he can keep her safe. He's a good man. He would treat her well. I'm just not sure she'll do the same thing. My sister never liked the thought of mates. But then again, I didn't like Oz at first at all. I hated him, and now look at me. I feel like I'm mourning his death just because I'm away from him. I laughed quietly to myself. My little sister is about to know what it feels like to have a mate. Even in her mind, she might not want a mate. Her heart and body will definitely have different feelings. Hopefully she doesn't make the same mistakes I did. The whole mate thing was overwhelming, especially with moving to a different freaking realm. She will come to realize that she can't live without him. I saw the moon shining through the trees. The sound of water up ahead got my heart beating faster. Mako H stops and turns around. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeline Nilban, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. It is time. He nods for me to come to him. I slowly approach. Mako H turns to Jen and whispers to her. She nods her head and steps away. She quickly turns to me and pulls me into a hug. Please be careful. I don't want to lose my big sister. I smile and hug her back. Don't worry about me. She steps back and holds my hand. You've grown so much, Lil. You have become strong. A leader. I feel honored to be your little sister. My heart melted as I received my sister's kind words. I pull her into another hug. I will see you soon, Jen. Mako H motions for me to follow him and I do. Where are we going? Isn't the lake more to the east? Without turning around or stopping, Mako H answers. The resting place of the star is submerged in water. It is too deep to get to. So how are we gonna get there? The Dakota tribe chiefs has known of the secret tunnels for thousands of years. Only we know where it is. I will show you the entrance. But only one person can go in. The Great Spirits only allow the person that is destined to enter. I rub my sweating hands on my pants. I take deep breaths to calm my heart and clear my head. So what are these tunnels? I wanted to know as much as possible to understand what I am exactly getting into. They led to the caves that sits directly under the lake. There you will find what you seek. I gulped. We came to a stop as we stood before a giant opening into the dark tunnels. What if I get lost? I said breathlessly. The spirit of the lake will not lead you astray. You must have faith in order to find what you want from the lake. Mako H said without any hint of empathy. I turned to him and bow my head respectfully. Thank you for everything you have done for my sister and I. Your brother would be proud of you. Mako H clenched his jaw. He did not say anything. He just turned and left. As I stood before the entrance, my hands were shaking. My palms were sweaty and I felt like I was the completely wrong person for this quest. I am a weak person. I get scared easily. I'm immature and unemotional. Those are not the signs of a born leader. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeline Nilban, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. I turned around and saw where Mako H stood. His chest rose and fell from a deep breath. You're brave. I may not particularly like you, but I respect you. I shook my head. I'm not brave. I'm scared as hell. He nods towards the cave. And yet look at where you are standing. Look at how far you have come. We all have fears, Iris. What makes us brave is when we choose to face them and overcome. You are strong, that is why the moon goddess chose you. Mako H then turns around and quietly leaves. Even though I don't know him and he doesn't like me, his words gave me encouragement. If he could see it. A chief of the Dakota tribe. Maybe I am what he says I am. I turned to the tunnel and took a deep breath. You can do this, Iris. This mission is more important than being scared. I cleared my mind of any negative thoughts and I took my first step within the tunnel. It was pitch black as I entered. I kept looking back at the entrance until it became so dark. I couldn't even see the light of the moon anymore. I was completely on my own. I held my hand on the wall of the tunnel, making myself feel more secure. I tried to make out something, any kind of shape, but it was so dark. I couldn't. I had to rely on my senses. I kept walking steadily down the tunnel. The air felt so close in here, so compacted. I kept taking deep breaths, hoping it would prevent the feeling of the walls getting closer and closer toward me, trapping me in this darkness forever. Okay, that is a bit dramatic, but you know what I mean. The hairs on my arms raised and stood up straight and alert. My heartbeat quickened as I stopped walking. Something was echoing in the tunnel. It sounded like someone speaking quietly. Who else could be in these tunnels? I tried to look at my right. A man stood there with glowing red eyes whispering words I couldn't understand. I screamed and stumbled backwards, resulting me in tumbling on the ground. I looked back up to see he was gone. You have finally come, the dark voice echoed out. My eyes were searching the place frantically for any sign of him, but there were none. I stood there shaking. I didn't want to speak out. I feared I had lost my voice. I stumbled over a rock. As I stood up, he was there again, except right in front of my face, so close that our noses were almost touching. Why did you leave me? I screamed again. Leave me alone. But again he had disappeared into the darkness, leaving his red eyes burned in my memory. The moon goddess sent me, I said out loud. She wants me to find this mess flower. I stood there, waiting for some kind of voice to answer back. No voice did. It felt like I was alone again. I didn't know what to do exactly. Was the guy a spirit? Did the spirits not want me to be here? Did I disturb something? I gulped and closed my eyes. I need to be brave. Be brave. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeline Nilben. Heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. Be brave. You can do this. You're strong. I opened my eyes and took a deep breath. I need to be strong. If I am mated to ours of the hellhounds, then there has to be some strength in me. I closed my eyes and focused. Maker H said to have faith. I need to trust. Trust in the spirit guide. I opened my palms as a sign of release. I release my fears to you, I said to the spirit. Lead me. An overwhelming sense of a calmness and peace flooded my system. I felt like a burden had lifted from my shoulders. My heart had calmed down. I opened my eyes and I stood there in shock as I saw the bizarre. All over the cave walls were white flowers, each flower glowing one after the other, revealing a guided path. I felt my heart soar in hope. Maybe in getting the hang of all this supernatural stuff. I followed the glowing lights of the flowers for what felt like hours. I had no clock with me, so I actually don't know. I noticed the walls were getting bigger and bigger the deeper I delved into the tunnel. I saw it opening up ahead. My heart was beating fast again. This was it. My walking became a little more slower. I didn't know what to expect. I just hoped this would somehow help me get closer to solving this damn thing. I stepped out into the opening where flowers were glowing absolutely everywhere in the giant cave opening. It was beautiful. That was the only eye-catching decor in the cave. There were giant, and I mean giant forms of crystals forming all over the cave walls, reflecting the light of the glowing flowers, making the cave look that much more enchanting. However, my eyes were instantly attracted to the very center of the cave. My eyes widened and my breath was caught in my lungs. Oh my goodness,